Call this hearing to order. Roll call.
Kolpak? Pepcorn?
Here.
Preston? Here. Strand? Mahoney?
Here. Steve Sprague and Chief Zabowski, I think you start us off.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. So what brings us here today is an appeal of a Liquor Control Board finding on a special meeting held on October 24th, where they found a potential violation of Fargo Municipal Code 25-1509.2, which is serving of an intoxicated person. The Liquor Control Board vote was a 3-2 vote, finding that they did in fact have that serving of an intoxicated person. With that, I think I'll turn it over to the chief if he's ready.
Sure, I'm ready. Good morning, Commission. Apologize, Sergeant Golos was unable to be here this morning, so I'm essentially going to walk through his report that I believe was contained in your packet. So this instance is, as Steve said, is an appeal from the Liquor Control Board on behalf of the moving party, and concentrates on an incident that occurred September 9th, 2023, when our officers responded to an unconscious male outside of the windbreak who had been vomiting. Windbreak security was the caller. When officers arrived on scene, they found the male passed out. He was not responsive and was eventually placed on a stretcher and transported to the hospital. Officers on scene spoke with a bystander who reported they believed the male was part of a wedding party, that he showed up sober, and that Windbreak served the group a number of shots. That particular information on the 60 shots we were not able to corroborate. Yes? Oh, this date here? Okay. Is that this one? No, that's not. Okay, I'll work with that. My apologies, I'm reading the wrong report. Okay. If I start doing that, you can do the secret ear grab, you know. Okay, let's find our data here. Okay. This was, in fact, an intoxicated female. Let's see if I can find the beginning of this here. Okay, thank you. Perfect. Okay, so let's venture back to
So we have in
August
front of us,
18th.
we have a police report that's
Right. From July
ICR
2nd, yeah.
2023045-679.
Correct. Yeah, the report date is August 31st. The incident date is July 2nd. And the follow-up by Sergeant Golos was on August 28th, where he was able to review the video from this particular instance. Walking through the video at 22:47, the female arrives alone to the windbreak, enters, her ID is checked, she pays the cover charge, is given a wristband, does not appear to be impaired at that time. At 12:36 a.m., she's back in the establishment with another male. Takes a hit from her vape pen, and at 0:37, the male takes her back to the bar and orders drinks for them. While the drinks are being made, the female's hugging the male from behind and thrusting from behind. Her actions indicate she is impaired. They're kissing all over each other, and the female is continuously adjusting her hair. At this juncture, the bartender gives those two individuals 3 drinks. A tall beer for the male, a shot of unknown capacity, whether it's a single or double, and a mixed drink in a glass for the female. The female chugs the shot immediately and sips the mixed drink. It appears on a video. Less than 20 minutes later, at 12:54 a.m., the male is in the bathroom. The female moves the beer closer to her, but doesn't appear to drink it. Security guard comes over and determines she's too intoxicated. He takes the beer away and they give her water. The male returns. They have a short conversation with the security guard and then walks away with the beer and the mixed drink. At 12:58 a.m., the two guards walk the female outside because she's unable to walk on her own. They have to escort her. At 1 a.m., she's outside, walks towards a vehicle, has poor balance, isn't walking straight. Security goes back into the establishment. And at 1:04, they come back out and walk towards her vehicle, go back inside the windbreak shortly thereafter. This continues here, and then ultimately our officers arrive on scene, find the female in her vehicle. She had been there. Staff reported she'd been in her vehicle for about 30 minutes prior to leaving. She was arrested at 2:25 a.m., so approximately an hour after security had last contact with her. The vehicle was involved in an accident at 2 a.m. Given this timeline, she was in her vehicle for about an hour. The female alleges she had a couple of beers while at the windbreak. She was inside the bar from 10:47 p.m. until 1 a.m. That's a little over 2 hours. She was served 5 beverages, which included a shot, 2 mixed drinks, 2 tall mixed drinks, 2 small mixed drinks, and took sips from other patrons' drinks along the way as well. Her BAC at the hospital was .291, which would indicate when she left an hour earlier, it was even much higher than that. BAC dissolves at approximately 0.015% per hour for an average person. And so based on that information, the violation was brought forth to the Liquor Control Board, that this woman was believed to have been overserved by the staff at the windbreak during their short time frame in which she consumed multiple drinks. The Liquor Control Board found in favor of that motion, and we bring that before the commission today. And absent any questions, I think that's the extent of the report.
Any questions to the chief? Commissioner Preston?
So, Chief, as I understand, give you a couple seconds here.
Okay. Am I missing all of this?
Yeah.
Oh, this. Okay. That's not in there though.
Yeah, it is. It's here, because this is what I was talking about. See the sun and the dance floor. It's, yeah.
Okay.
Definitely. We've got several different incidents, but that's the incident.
Okay.
that was at the time of the control.
Okay. All right, so just referencing the materials that you have, you're able to walk through the, and I obviously missed a few points here in this, if you want to refer to that and ask any questions, but there are several instances where this individual is drinking, is served liquor over that time period, leading ultimately up to her contact with the police and subsequent treatment for an arrest for the accident in which she was heavily intoxicated.
Commissioner Preston?
So, Chief, I don't know if you can answer this, having gotten thrown into the middle of this, but as I understood from the documentation, the manager initially said, no, we don't have the video, and then later the video showed up. Is that correct?
Plain Jane.
I'm unable to answer that
Yeah,
question.
okay.
I think there was a time frame in which we asked for it. On the 18th, we requested to watch it. But it was the 28th where we actually, looks like he was able to review this. But I can't answer that for certain.
Okay.
Mayor?
Yeah,
Mr.
Commissioner
Chair,
Colpack.
I think it was because the video finally was from Flying J. Excuse me. They finally got the video from Flying J.
The outside video was from Flying J. Yeah,
Okay.
the inside video was from the windbreak itself.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? You're represented by Tim O'Keefe, is that correct, Windbreak?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Appealing the decision?
Yeah, we did. So let's try to get the facts straight here. It was off to a shaky start there, and I wish Sergeant Golos was here. If you were able to watch his summary from the Liquor Control Board, it was very well stated and reviewed. And he really did a good job of sticking to the facts, not interjecting opinions, scientific evidence, whatever it might be. So the reason for the appeal today is that we have two individuals, Chad Klimek, and who's ill and not able to be here today. He really wanted to be, and Mike Liebachuk. These two individuals have been a part of the Windbreak since 1997 as owners, bartenders, managers, whatever it might be. They've been fortunate to hire and keep long-term staff. So one of the reasons we're here is because they want the commission to hear the actual facts and the evidence of what happened on this night with this particular female individual. Second, the Liquor Control Board almost failed to find a violation. If you again watch the video, there were 4 calls for a motion that day before one was finally made. There were questions to the city attorney, well, what if we don't do anything today? What happens? And then there were 2 calls for a second before it finally happened. And then it passed 3-2. And the reason that's important to us is that there was a lot of interjection of this nature. The chief was not present at the windbreak that night. He did not review the video himself. He's making an opinion about what happened at the windbreak and also bringing in the facts or some of the facts of what happened after 1 a.m. when this female left the windbreak. There's an almost 2-hour span where we don't know exactly what she was doing. She could have consumed alcohol in her car. She could have done a number of things from the time she left until the time she crashed her vehicle and when she was found. That's not important to your decision. If we were in an actual courtroom, that hearsay testimony would not come in. It's not even relevant to the matter at hand. The matter at hand is, did windbreak staff serve an obviously intoxicated individual? And so let's talk about that. The facts are important, the evidence is important. So let's go to the report and what it actually says. And I'll get to it eventually. So at 10:47 on this night, the female individual arrives at the windbreak. Her ID is checked, she pays a cover, she's given a wristband. There's no concern about her intoxication. Her first drink was served at 10:55. Officer Golos had discussed at the last hearing that she did not look impaired. It states that in the report. At 11:10, a second drink in a small glass again was served. She paid cash for both drink 1 and 2. We presume the first drink was empty. She set it down in another area, was dancing, interacting with people. A server took that first glass, so we'll just presume she drank it. The second drink at 11:10, she walked around with, she went to the smoking area. She left it out there for a while. She left the business, in fact, and went to her vehicle at 11:17. She came back in, she walked around, walked to the smoking area, brought the drink back into the bar. Now, in fairness, there were a few instances, at least 3 or 4 in this report, where she was talking to other people and she took a sip out of their drink. The officer characterized it as maybe her taking drinks out of other people's drinks amounted to a drink, one total drink. But she was served the first 2 drinks. Her third drink was served at 11:37, 50 minutes after she'd been there. If you read through it, I'll summarize what I read is that she goes to the dance floor, she goes to the pool area, she takes a sip or 2 from that drink. At 11:47, a fourth drink was purchased by someone else, as the third drink was, and given to her. So after 11:47, she's walking around the windbreak with two drinks in her hand. We don't believe she ever finished the fourth drink, and she took a few sips out of the third, but there's no indication that she even drank all of that. What the officer was able to see, and going back and having the benefit of hindsight and several camera angles and being able to fully review this matter in isolation, essentially, is that sometime around midnight, the female was on the dance floor and put her head down on the stage, and almost like she was taking a nap, sleeping, whatever it might have been. She then returns moving around. He described some weird dancing. And we go to 11:37, where she's at the bar again, and there's a male individual at the bar that ordered 3 drinks. She's behind the male individual, touching him, dancing behind him. The officer said doing a humping motion, playing with her hair. The bartender served the male 3 drinks. It was a beer, a mixed drink, and a shot. After he set them down, she reached around the male, grabbed the shot, and took it right away. Then those two moved the remaining drinks to a table. The male individual got up. So this would have been her 5th drink given to her, indirectly or directly by the staff. They're sitting at the table. A security guard sees her sitting there alone. She grabs the beer to move it closer to her. He walks over, takes it from her, gives her a bottle of water, and within less than 20 minutes, she's escorted out of the windbreak. She said she was going to get an Uber. She became very belligerent. But my point is, that's the focus of this. From 10:47 when she walked in, and even Officer Golos indicates she appeared relatively fine, not obviously intoxicated for the first 2 drinks that she was given, up until just before 1 a.m. when the security did the right thing and didn't let her drink anymore because she appeared obviously intoxicated. So that is the focus of what this hearing should be about, what the testimony should be about, not speculative conjecture about how one gets to such a high blood alcohol level, how one gets to crashing their car. That's all extraneous information. The windbreak has experienced servers. They have experienced owners. They have agreed months ago to work with the Fargo Police Department and a liaison officer. I wish Sergeant Golos was here to be questioned about this, because I think he would tell you, if I get to speculate, that he's had a good working relationship with Mr. Libacek. He even said that at the last hearing. I like Mike, we get along. The windbreak has security, they have cameras, they are a popular destination, so they do those things. They have their servers trained. Mike told me today they have 9 or 10 people going to the de-escalation training tomorrow. The windbreak pays for that for their employees. They've done everything they have been asked. At some level, we have to be a little practical too. Yes, somebody left the bar and it could have been worse. But what happened in the bar that night was the right thing. And although this commission may find a violation, just because you see perhaps a technical violation, the ordinance does not require you to find a violation and impose a penalty. The penalties for this can become very severe very quickly. The bar has taken this serious, and if we isolate this one incident, once they determined that she was obviously intoxicated, they cut her off. They did not allow her to remain on the premises even. They didn't allow her to drink anymore. They didn't serve her anymore. And there should not be a violation. So I'm here to take questions, but if we focus on what this is, were they serving an obviously intoxicated person? I think it is very easy and would propose that this commission make the appropriate motion and determine no violation for this one incident.
Mr. Chair, if I could just highlight a couple of pieces related to that. Okay. So thank you, Mr. O'Keefe, for getting me on track here. I apologize for my confusion. And you did walk through the course of events, but there's a couple of things in here in Sergeant Golos's report to highlight as well. And so at 11:10 p.m. is that first drink. At 11:30, 20 minutes later, she's sipping from the drinks. And at 11:37, 27 minutes after the first drink, is when the manager walks to her and makes her a drink free of charge in a large glass, one that we would pour beer in. But it wasn't beer, it was some type of mixed drink. That's what she was given, and that's what she then consumed, and we could see that. Sergeant Golos could see that she continued to drink from that following being served that. 10 minutes later, at 11:47, a server brings her another drink, which appears also to be a tall drink. That was paid for by another male at the pool table. The female now has 2 drinks. The bartender should have seen this. That is exactly what Sergeant Golos' report states. So from 11:47 p.m., going forward to 23:55 is when she's observed on the dance floor. Actually, at 23:55, she walks by the bar area and shows both drinks to the bartender and appears to say thank you to him with some type of body language. She's then out on the dance floor, sets both drinks on the table, drinks from one, starts dancing. Her dancing, this is according to Sergeant Golos's report, is strange. She's dancing by herself. There's lots of movement. Movement becomes exaggerated as the night goes on. The same male is sitting at the table. He has his hands in his laps and appears to be there for the band. Nobody tampers with her drinks. She continues to dance, again in that exaggerated state. And at 12:37 a.m., which is 10, 20 minutes later, is where she's standing at the bar and making what's described as humping motions to the male who's at the bar, standing directly behind him. They are kissing each other, indicating that they have some kind of relationship or know each other. The bartender gives those 2 people 3 drinks. She reaches around him and consumes that shot immediately and sips the other drink. There's no argument or dispute about whose drinks those were. So again, from a server perspective, on 2 occasions, we have servers giving one person or 2 people more drinks than the individuals that they are serving. And shortly thereafter, looks like 1:22 a.m. Well, actually 20 minutes later is when they take the beer away from her and give her water, because now they're trying to intervene. And she leaves the bar and is in an accident at 2 a.m. So I just wanted to clarify those points and agree with Mr. O'Keefe's rest of the information presented.
Commissioners, do you have any questions?
Mr. Chair, I have a couple of questions. One is, so
Mr. Pipcorn.
is it the total is 5 drinks that were served? Is that correct? And to me, one of them was a shot, and then one was in a large glass. So to me, that would be a double or something like that.
There's at least 2 large glasses that can be seen on the video. Again, we don't know, but they're not beer, but we don't know what type of potency they are.
So to me, that's a lot. But then on top of that, then she drank out of other people's drinks on top of that. Mm-hmm. So it's to me, it's no wonder you could get to almost a 3 on the blood level if you're consuming that much alcohol. But that's
Commissioner Pipcorn, could you comment on the Liquor Control Board, what happened there?
Sure.
Mr. O'Keefe had talked about that a little bit, but was there some discussions that we should be aware of?
Oh, it was very good discussion. We had lots of good viewpoints, and so I actually had to relinquish the chair to make the second because we had a difficult time. because it's very serious. And I think that, to summarize it, everyone had their own opinion about what was going on. But I will talk about, Chief, if you don't mind. We've met with them. That was a long time ago now, and so they've been chronic, and clearly they are not getting the message about how serious this is. And so I think the debate was what we should do. And then on top of that, they have other issues coming before us. And so it's just, I think we've done a good job. We try to be proactive before we get to this point. With the staff and one of the other Liquor Control Board members went out and met with them. And so, we've done a lot to try to encourage them but clearly they do not get the message. I've said that directly to them. It's like the guy's wearing a baseball cap pulled over his eyes. Clearly, they've got a bad attitude. They think they're above the law, and they aren't getting our message. And what I said at the Liquor Control Board is true. We're lucky somebody didn't get killed. When somebody's at a 3 driving a vehicle, man, lots of worse outcomes could have happened. And so that's what's scary to me. But I will say, this to me is the minor. I think they're right on the edge of losing their liquor license from my perspective as the chair of the Liquor Control Board, because this has been years and they are not getting the message, and it's up to us to make sure they get the message. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Preston?
Yeah, I think we focus a lot on the number of drinks here. I have no idea the stature of this individual, but it's the behaviors that the ordinance lays out, and and obviously there's evidence that those behaviors were being exhibited. So, I agree. This could have been alcohol poisoning. The woman could have died in her car. If it was up to me, I would jump violations here and do something more severe, but I know we can't do that at this point. So, yeah, I would agree. It just seems to be an ongoing issue. Training is one thing. The culture in the management of the bar itself is a whole nother thing. And it's got to be really clear to staff that they intervene early. And then, I'm sorry, but going out and checking on her every 5 minutes says to me the staff were worried. And I would even question if police should have been called at that point.
Mr. Kolpeck?
Yeah, for me, the violation here is serving someone who's overly intoxicated. And the moment for me where the violation seems to be clear from this factual information is serving 3 drinks to 2 people when she's clearly exhibiting intoxicated behavior. There's no justification to serve 3 drinks to 1 person when the 2 clearly are standing there together. And at that point, that's over serving an intoxicated individual exhibiting behavior. So those are my comments.
Mr. Strand?
I'm not active on social media like I used to be years ago. So some months back, I received a message from somebody indicating that there was a conversation on social media that was surfacing that they thought they should bring to my attention. And his point was, well, we'll bring it to City Commissioner John Strand so they know this is happening. And I'll quote aspects of this. I sent these texts to Steve Sprague some months back. I drive Uber as a side hustle, and he's talking about the windbreak. I drive Uber as a side hustle, and they overserve and serve minors. Then I get to deal with the aftermath. Then I explained in my follow-up that we'd had the issue of minors being served before the commission, and the discussion evolved where we stepped up our recommendation, our requirement that ID scanners be used all the time, not what the Liquor Control Board would acquiesce to use them selectively in weekends and evenings. So I said we addressed this issue of minors with this ID scanner topic. Then the discussion continued. I haven't had issues with minors for a couple of months because I avoid picking up from there. previously had a lot of minors bragging about how they got in with fake IDs or borrowed IDs. But virtually everyone I pick up from there has been overserved. Even last night, I had to turn down someone because they could barely stand. And then he continued, glad someone is bringing this up because all the other bars are very responsible versus the windbreak. This is far worse than Africa nightclub ever was. This is just feedback from a citizen who's an Uber driver. I didn't solicit it. I didn't ask for it. I didn't vet it or verify it. I don't know if there's police reports or anything. I'm just sharing some anecdotal information that was passed on to me by somebody who thought we need to know this.
Any final comments?
Yeah, so this is the point I come into this hearing with. The due process of the situation requires that you focus on the night in question and what occurred. I understand the culture that you're concerned about. I understand hearing from a constituent, you have all of these concerns. The officer that actually watched this video isn't even here to be confronted and asked about this. We're hearing secondhand at best about what took place there with the hindsight, with the ability to watch hours of footage from different angles and see these things. It's different when you're there with a bar full of people. You do the best you can. You take the practical approach. This happens at other bars. I'm sorry, but it does. This bringing in extraneous information to make a decision about one female individual who should be the responsible party for her own actions. Officer Golis made that comment too. She should be the responsible individual. We don't know what she did before she got in the bar, but even the officer agreed. When she was sold the 2 drinks, the only 2 she purchased, she was fine. The 3rd drink was in a tall glass. It was bought for her by someone else. It wasn't a free drink. The 4th drink was bought for her from someone else. She didn't even drink those 2 drinks. A few sips from the one. The male individual was buying 3 drinks. He might have been, I mean, you don't know what he's doing. He's fine. He might be giving them to other people. You keep your eye on that. But it was at that point that she caught their attention and they cut her off. So I understand all the extraneous information. You all have a job to do for your constituency. I'm asking you in this case that you look at this for what it is that we have before us for this actual violation. And maybe that's too much of the legal speak and training in me coming out, but there is no relevant evidence that's been presented to this commission today that would rise to the level of finding a violation of this ordinance, even by a preponderance of the evidence. So the last thing I'll say is that these 2 owners have been around a long time. This is a big investment. They take it very serious. They train their staff. They keep good staff around. If there's a problem, they get rid of them. They're fortunate that they have that. They're sending them to all the training. They're doing everything that they can. And in the moment, when you have a dance floor and a band, and when you have pool tables and you have hundreds of people sometimes, you're not going to always see everything right away. But the minute they did the right thing. And they tried to get her out of there safe. So I would just ask that the message has been heard loud and clear by the owners of the windbreak as to your concerns. But for this particular situation, that you recognize that there is not enough evidence to hold them in violation of the ordinance in this one instance.
Mayor and Commissioners, if I could just interject, I agree with Mr. O'Keefe that the facts matter. And in this instance, the facts were presented to you by Chief Sobalski and previously by Officer Golos. He did a detailed summary of the events as he saw them that night. And because of that detailed summary, this was presented to the Liquor Control Board on the recommendation from the auditor's office and the chief of police that a violation does exist of 25-1509.2. You may recall that this was a section that we did take a look at in 2023 because it was very difficult to bring any violations forward in the event that the officer visually had to see the drinks served at that time. So the ordinance was changed to bring to you violations when there are certain behaviors distributed or demonstrated, and those are laid out to you in 25-1509 too. And those are things with problems with or inability for balance, stumbling, swaggering, swaying, staggering gait, bumping into furniture, and so forth. Also, the strong smell of alcohol, delayed responses, bloodshot, watery eyes, clothing, conditions of clothing, just disheveled behavior, and anxiousness, scratching, dry mouth, other things that would be associated with overconsumption or impairment. Those features were exhibited in the video that Officer Golos reviewed and are summarized for you in that very detailed, time-stamped as he went through all of the events that took place that evening. In particular, at 23:55, he does notice there, on the dance floor, she's exhibiting behaviors that would be consistent with 25-1509.2. And again, I understand Mr. O'Keefe's position that this isn't a trial, and I agree with that. This is a license. You grant the privilege. It's a privilege to have that license for this person in the city of Fargo to sell alcoholic beverages. Fargo designates the license terms and also provides for the rules that they must follow in order to continue to operate that license. We're not here on criminal matters. This is not beyond a reasonable doubt. Mr. O'Keefe mentioned preponderance. That is it more likely than not that a violation has occurred, in your opinion? And if so, you may find that violation. Again, I'm here because it was brought to the Liquor Control Board. What is that standard? We want to stick to the facts as they have been presented to you in this particular incident for this particular violation. And again, I believe there is sufficient evidence here for you to find that violation under these circumstances. Again, it is not beyond a reasonable doubt. It is it more likely than not that that the violation has occurred of 1509.2.
Colas isn't here, but his email's pretty clear. His quote is, either way, she showed up walking fine, not impaired. She was removed by security who cut her off at 1 a.m. She looked pretty impaired. She could barely walk or talk. She was there 2 hours. Looks like staff kept checking on her outside. It's my opinion she was very drunk and they should have called her a cab or called the police. Why would you deposit her in a car if she's going to drive? She's going to get in an accident. It's craziness to do that. And when we look at the managing partner, Michael, he says, I say my staff didn't do anything wrong, not to mention she was cut off. They're checking on her in the car, so they know she's impaired. You need to do something for a client if that happens. Not everybody can make their own good judgments, and if they're that bad, why deposit them in a car in which somebody can get injured or something could happen? I do feel that management has to relook at what we do as a staff, because you can encourage or not encourage certain behavior. This person should not have been placed in a vehicle. Commissioner Strand.
I have a question for Commissioner Pepcorn. Could you help me understand the two dissenting votes in your Liquor Control Board discussion?
I just, there's been a long history, so I think the group agreed that we had to do something, but I think the debate was whether this was the right fine. Could we do more? Could we do less? So that was the main thing. And I don't know if that answers your question very well, but the conflict, everyone agreed with what we saw, but it was what to do. What was the correct next action? Does that answer your question?
And might I continue, Mayor? Help me understand the stages and steps and progressions of fines and citations, and what does this mean next or going forward or relative to their status now or with their license they currently hold or in the future?
So, Mr. Chair, if it's okay, I'll have Nancy because she's more familiar with the steps, but we've redone that. So if that's okay with you, Commissioner Strand.
And that's the back of the package, John, as well. If you look into it, it'll show you the different clients. Different things.
That is correct. If you find a violation of 25-1509.2 in this instance, this would be a first violation for the windbreak. So it would be a $500 assessment. It's not a fine because it's not a criminal matter, but it's an administrative penalty.
But keep going. What's section 2, second offense?
A second offense is a $1,000 administrative penalty and a 1-day suspension. So they do as presently set up on how an offenses would accumulate. It would be if there's a same offense, it goes to the second offense.
Third offense is 2,000 plus 2-day suspension, and fourth offense is revocation of their license. So this is step 1. You have 3 other steps.
Mr. Chair, can I just add?
Pepcorn.
So to me, I think we have to focus on, just today and what it reads, that serving an obviously impaired person. And to me, a female, 5 drinks in 2 hours, with one of the drinks being a double or possibly more, and another one being a shot. To me, it's clearly that is what has occurred. And I will say, I know we need to focus on this, but to me, I think we should suspend them. But that's a topic for another day. But in my opinion, it's not just 1 day or 2 days. I think at least 5 days that we should suspend their license, because this has been going on for years. And I'm fed up, and I think everyone else is, and we're also afraid for public safety. And so to me, I believe the next thing we're going to consider is how long is the suspension going to be? Because to me, and I know we need to focus on this today, but this is unacceptable. Clearly, they aren't getting the message. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
But today, we only can do a $500 fine.
What is before you today is an appeal from the Liquor Control Board with respect to this incident. Yes.
Okay. Mr. Preston?
I made a statement earlier, and I'm wanting to check that that's accurate. Do we have any flexibility in moving towards a heavier penalty?
I would not suggest or recommend doing that at this time. That would be something that would require notice and an opportunity to be heard as to that full.
Okay.
Can I just add one more thing, Mr. Chair? So the windbreak is on Liquor Control Board. We have a special meeting on Thursday, so I would anticipate we are going to be doing much more. We are going to take much more action in the very short future. I think that would be fair to say.
Could I have a motion, please?
I'll make the motion, Mr. Chair.
I'll second it.
Second, and the motion is that you agree and apply the penalty, basically. Turn down the appeal. Commissioner Strand?
Thank you. And, my intention today is to stand with the Liquor Control Board on this particular instance. But it needs to be said also, the windbreak is one heck of an institution. It's one heck of a bar. It's one real major draw to our community. The entertainment and the flow of people coming in from our community. I've seen this over the years when I've had interactions with that industry in the community. And there's a lot of folks that would just give their eye teeth to have the windbreaks business and to have their wherewithal. And so my point is this: you really have everything going for you. You really are on top of your horse. And it's important not to get knocked off your horse. When you have that much activity, that many people, that much sense out there that it's the place to go, with that much a draw, it's really on you to really step up your enforcement of these rules so that you're not at risk with your license in the future because of the behaviors even of your customers. So it's an amazing institution, and it needs to be acknowledged, the role the windbreak has in our community.
Roll call vote, please.
Pepcorn?
Aye.
Preston?
Aye.
Kolpak,
Aye.
Strand,
Yes.
Mahoney.
Yes. No other business, we stand adjourned.